Day 4, sell your experience. How to sell your experience, y'all. I hope this has been helpful. I'm bringing it up because I had a little problem. So just make sure that I went live. LinkedIn. Okay. Yes, it's on live on YouTube. Starting a YouTube channel. I think I may have mentioned that. I don't know. A lot of exciting stuff. I think I mentioned too that I am updating all my curriculum. I'm super excited. I'm going to be recording all new videos. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Okay. Hello, hello. Hey, everybody. Okay, let's see. So today we're going to get into some submissions. We are going to see what exactly you need to say. Some other examples. So I got 3 submissions here we're going to go through. And how to think about the impact model, right? Because the impact model it's a guide. It is how you continue to make sure that you show up leading through impact, right? Again, not to pick on the STAR method, but just any kind of method that you've been using. Is not rooted in typically what managers want, right? And so selling your experience has to come from a place of impact. That's what they want the most, is they want to know that you drive impact, that you're going to bring impact when you come through. They don't want a star anymore, right? Like the star is, I think, again, it's had its time, it's had its moment. And it's literally probably more for people that are just coming straight out of college, where they want to shine, they want to be the star. Like that's what managers used for. They wanted a star, very individualistic person, someone self-motivated, and some of that is still true, right? But they also want, the world has changed, things have changed, and so that's about kind of selling yourself. So today, I'm actually going to start with a couple of what I would call mindset shifts that I want to share with people to consider. I also want to talk a little bit about, I'm not seeing that I'm live on LinkedIn. It said there was an issue. So I'm just, all the time. Riverside is giving me issues. I have to repost it later, which is no problem. So let's talk about for day 4. I really wanted to hone in on, like, there's a theme with these questions actually. So I thought that was I wanted to lean into the theme. And a lot of these questions, so yesterday I talked a lot about ramble and why people ramble, and that all comes from more insecurity about your experience. And then today, these questions actually have a theme of the fear of being judged. And so I wanted to start with, like, okay, if you want to sell your experience so you can actually land offers and you can do better, not just do better, but have interview landing answers that resonate. If you are constantly in the mindset, if I say this, they're going to judge me, then you are going to overcomplicate what you share. You're going to probably overshare, or you're going to say things that end up making you the red flag. So one important part or key trait of selling your experience is not to overshare. Right? Like, not to overshare. And so a lot of you confuse that with, well, if I don't say X, Y, and Z, that's lying. And that is a trap that a lot of you all are falling into. Like, there is a balance between sharing what a manager needs to understand about you and what's relevant to the role and information, and then also just like completely like lying, right? Like there is a balance, and there is a line that is definitely there that y'all are not understanding, and y'all are just going all the way to the overshare side, or you get too cagey, and then that becomes, like I said, a red flag. So I want you to show up in the interviews like a boss, so that you can get what you need, and get the offers. And because a lot of you are, again, missing out on opportunities has nothing to do with certification. It has nothing to do with all the things on the job description. Again, it has nothing to do with the fact that you actually have a gap on your resume or whatever the case is. It's because you are so scared of being judged that your answers are not landing, right? Your answers are not landing. So let's see what else I want to share with you. I can always get my notes so I don't miss anything. Okay, so um do I want to share this yet? Okay, I'm actually just gonna go into some of the examples or the submissions, which I'm super excited about, and then I will um share a couple more insights that I want you all to walk away with. Okay, so current role, dental hygienist. Target role is more of an HR BP, like senior HR generalist role. The person is pivoting back into HR and confused on how to share that, right? And so I love that they actually asked this question because right away you might not see, okay, well, what would the impact model have to do with any of this? And the impact model has everything to do with it. Every question that you're answering, I think about and embody the impact model. So again, go back. This is a 5-day series. If you go back to day 1, day 2, and even yesterday, day 3, I break down how to think about the impact model. And I think about it in more of those like behavioral style questions. But this question is not necessarily a behavioral style question. It's more of an intent question, trying to figure out, okay, like what's going on. They're trying to like assess. They're literally actually trying to assess for red flags. And so it's easy for you to become a red flag when you don't know how to answer this question. So usually the impact model, you can, the essence of any of the letters you can think about for any question that you answer, but the one that I would probably draw back the most to would be the T. So tying it back to the role of the company, the organization, the industry, right? And so this person was pivoting back into HR. Dental hygienists are like, I don't understand if this is going to come, like if they're going to see any value in my dental hygienist role. And also, I only did dental hygienist because I'm actually super passionate about HR. I'm always passionate about HR and I wanted to stay in HR, but I did it for my family, right? And so, and then I got a divorce, and I really only did it at the time because of my husband's schedule, right? And so there's a little bit of underlying judgment about like, okay, my family situation and everything that I went through. And are they going to be like, okay, well, why in the world, girl, did you become a dental hygienist? Like, are you actually serious about HR? So again, underlying thoughts are all about judgment. And so, the typical response was, HR is my passion. I took the dental hygienist role because of my husband's schedule. But now we're divorced and I have more time and I'm at a different stage of life. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of what they would say. So again, because we are like want to tell the truth, we want to be open. Again, I'm not suggesting not to be truthful. Like you can share whatever you want, but it sounds like this person does not necessarily want to share that they are going through a divorce and all the different things. And so you don't have to say that, right? So a lot of you all are guilting yourselves into sharing information that's they don't need to know. They don't need to know some of your very personal stuff unless it's something that you want you want to share. But if you're thinking about it, then again you're continuing to come from the energy of being judged, and somebody people can feel that, like you can feel like, oh yeah, we were divorced, and like they can feel the energy, and it doesn't put you in a position of power and poise. It puts you in a position of like over defending, over explaining, right? So yeah, you're thinking like if I mention divorce, then they're gonna be like, okay, what's going on with her? If I say I did it for my husband, then maybe they'll be like, okay, what does that mean? If I say, well, I just decided to do dental hygiene, like, will they take me not serious about like my passion about HR? But she really liked and enjoyed both, right? So just over explaining on the personal details. They don't need to know all that. They don't need to know all of that. And I know I'm not your typical HR, so I the advice that I share with you is just really point blank and direct. And so one of the other things that I share with people when they go down this rabbit hole and they're not in leading it with impact, and you're like, but again, if I don't say X, Y, or Z, then it just feels not honest, right? And so I can empathize with that and I hear you. And I'm also, again, I'm going to give you some very direct coaching here. I'm even a very direct coaching here. We in HR, when we are interviewing someone and they ask a question about what your culture is like, I am not about to rattle off to you the fact that we've had a lawsuit. I'm not going to rattle off to you that, our exact turnover numbers. I'm not going to rattle off to you that I just had to, coach a very senior leader on some bad behavior and he might be on his way out the door. Like I'm not about to share all that. But it's also not super relevant to you necessarily making a decision about the job either, right? Like, yes, I want to share with you about, I was always very direct, like, okay, our culture is busy. Our culture means like you're probably going to work the role of like 1.5 people because that's what we do, right? So there's a way to give the message without it undermining who you are fundamentally. And y'all know how to do that, right? Like, even if you're talking to your nephews, your nieces, like, you want to be truthful with them about certain things, but of course, me as an auntie, like there's things that I'm honest with my nephew about. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna be direct with you, but also I know there's certain things that doesn't make sense for him to be involved in or for me to share with him, right? So I think you have to have a balance. So if you're leaning into the T, for example, and again, it has to be truthful, it has to feel honest. I'm not a fan of being like one size fits all answers. That's also why I love the impact model because you can make it your own as well. And just going to give you back that power and that poise that you really need to sell your skills and experience, right? Because again, your fear is that they're going to feel like I have a lack of experience because I haven't done HR in a very long time. And they're also going to question my seriousness about it. And so you want to make them feel safe. You want to make them feel comfortable. You want to make them feel like exactly what the truth is, that you want the job and that you were excited about being a dental hygienist. You wanted to work, you had a life situation, and at the same time, now you have something new. So some suggestions, some thoughts. Have to make it true for you. I don't know this person specifically, but in my coaching program, Prime to Pivot, right, I help you pull out what actually is true and authentic. What is unique for your story, right? So again, take this all with a grain of salt, and you can go from there. I stepped into dental hygiene for personal reasons at the time. It gave me flexibility I needed to support my family and how I wanted to support my family in that season of my life. But what I didn't expect was how much it would deepen the exact skills that make HR professionals great. And I've always thought about how much HR really meant to me and I always knew one day I'd be pivoting back into HR. The 8 years of managing patients, leading office operations, but building culture, there was a time where there was like heavy turnover. And so I helped to turn that and mitigate that and turn that around. There was a lot of technology transformation and change management, which I was surprised by in such a small office. But while sometimes I'm like, oh, I was kind of sad to be detoured from HR, it really wasn't, right? There was a lot of people, pieces of the people story that I stayed in contact with and stayed really closely to. And so now I'm coming back to home because I'm in a different season of life and I'm super excited about going back into my first love. Okay. So y'all, we ain't got to get into the nitty gritty details of all of the things. Nothing that you don't want to talk about. Seriously. Notice I didn't apologize. Notice I didn't talk too much about details of the schedule, right? Like a lot of people would start to, when they start to talk about things like that, they'll start talking about, well, it was Monday through Wednesday. I really, again, talked about it yesterday, rambling. It's because in your brain, you're overthinking, you're over explaining. Okay. All right. I got another one. All right. So submission number 2, stay at home mom, 3-year gap, wants to go into a higher level HR role, back into HR, right? So a lot of back into HR too. So higher level HR role. So what is it you have been doing for the last 3 years? And so a lot of times for my stay-at-home people, or people that have been laid off for some time, they feel like they also have to like really stretch and explain why they had this big gap. And I will tell you, like every client that has had a gap, and I've worked with many stay-at-home moms, it has never been a problem, right? It's never been a problem. Again, it's the judgment of like, oh, I haven't worked. I've been out of work. I've been out of practice. I've not been in a corporate America. I've been changing diapers. I've been doing, I've been big with my toddler. So those just stay at home. The energy is not the best, right? So again, for here, it's just more about talking about your intentionality, talking about the fact that how you've been managing all that you've been managing, what it's looked like, what it has felt like. And you'll be surprised. There's so many people that understand how much goes into being a stay-at-home mom and all the things that are part of that. But this person also did mention that they had a part-time gig too, which I recognized that they were actually dismissing as not valuable and they didn't even want to put it on their resume, right? So I think also owning into the fact, like if you did side hustles or side things, because a lot of stay-at-home mommies, they they want to exercise their brains. They want to they sell. Like, I've known people to like sell things on Etsy and do other side things as well. So don't underestimate that. Yeah, so if they're asking you that too, you can think about the T. You can think about the challenges you have to overcome during this time and really lean into that. So, yeah, you can talk about managing, the overall household while also having a side hustle, side business, and how that has supported your family differently and being able to manage all the things at the same time. And again, leaning more into like, I'm coming back now because I'm excited for my next chapter. I'm excited for what is to come. And then also not overestimating if you've done some type of part-time something, even if it was administrative, a lot of y'all are underselling administrative skills too. So leaning into, how did you help an office get back on their feet? How did you do your system implementations? A lot of you are seeing this as like, well, it's just administrative. And so immediately you're going to undersell your skills and they're going to see you as having a lack of skills. Okay. So own into that. Okay. What else? Okay. General manager. This is my jam, right? Because this is coming from someone who had been in retail and wanting to go into employee relations specialist. And a lot of this is actually a pretty common path I see for people going from like a general manager to HRBP is a good one because we do a lot of that essentially within like retail stores and stuff. But then also the employee relations is a good one too because you deal with a lot of different scenarios, lots of different types of situations as when you're a general manager. Okay, so tell me about a time you had to handle a difficult employee situation, right? And so I had an employee with an attitude and I supported the investigation. I had to partner with legal and ultimately wrote up the individual ultimately had to write up the individual, which led to a termination, right? So again, it's very like sing-songy and like basic. And so a lot of you are, I would say for the energy of this question, some of the reasons you're not selling yourself here is because you are just literally saying directly what you did, right? Step 1, 2, and 3. And a lot of you are like, well, that was the direct question. But again, the essence of the impact model, going back to the impact model, is that no question is just one direct question. Almost every single question that a manager is asking you, they're assessing for 7 different things, which is exactly what the impact model shows you, right? So I highly recommend that that you really put that within the impact model, talking about, okay, what was different? And I talk a lot about employee relations yesterday, so I'm not necessarily going to go through all the employee relations here. But yeah, like what was different after the employee situation, right? Again, I don't know your exact situation, but if it was a team leader, did the team morale boost up or shoot up? Again, yesterday I talked about errors being a challenge. Did those go away? were you able to hire fresh talent for the first time in 5 years, right? That then helped you with growing your sales, growing your, your NPS score, right? So all of those different things. So really thinking about that, and that those are also the metrics. So right, so that's the I and the M. Who all did you partner with? So you talked about legal, so that's fine. A lot of you don't struggle with like the people part, but also the problem, like what was actually happening, right? Did you? I'm trying to think of some other time, some specific things. Yeah, did you get an anonymous complaint submitted, and then you had to address it? Did you notice that the turnover was ticking up, right? So what was the actual problem? So go into that. A lot of you leave that off when it comes to employer relations stuff, and it really leaves out the meat and the juice of the story. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, so like example, showing up late, missing deadlines, responding defensively, and then let's see what else. And so yeah, and then if you think about your process, right? You might talk about, the fact that you coached the individual, that you partner with other people, that you came up with a performance improvement plan. You might go through a little bit more of the process in that regard, but don't just say things like, yeah, I set up a meeting with a person and then it ended up being termination. And that's the end of my story. Right. So that's kind of what I would say there. And then, yeah, like if there was a challenge might have been, okay, I also had 3 people starting at the same time, and we had to set up. I'm thinking about my retail time. Like, also had to set up at the same time a new self checkout system or POS system, right? So, what was a challenge that you had to overcome, even while still doing and performing this thing? Okay. Let's see what else. Yeah, and then tying it back to that particular role. So, like, again, tying it back to the company industry. Let's say you're going for a generalist job or an HRBP job at another retail or retail adjacent. It's like, yeah, in retail, I understand all the nuances and I've seen all the different scenarios essentially of the common types of employee relations issues, including things like attendance. Especially quickly, I can see when there's going to be some behavior issues. And so I'm really able to understand and turn those around. I understand how to do the investigations thoroughly and quickly and seamlessly. And so at your organization, I understand that you all are having an uptick of attendance problems. So what I'm going to do is make sure that we get a handle on that pretty quickly. And I have high confidence that I'll be able to turn those issues around in 90 days. Okay. So y'all got to stand on business with the T. So you see how much I lean into the T? Can't explain the T enough. All right. So we went from just like, yep, I did to, oh, she knows what she's doing, right? She or he knows what they're doing. All right. I want you to think again about these 3 experiences. I want you to think about yourself. I want you to think about all the times that you felt defensive, right, in an interview. There's ways to turn that around. And a lot of these questions, again, they can bring up judgment, like, oh, I'd never really held an employee relations title. So are they going to judge me that my title doesn't work, right? I wanted to move, if they ask you questions about your intention of taking on a new role, or why did you move to a new state, and if your feeling is like, okay, I'm going to be judged, and then you become defensive, you're never going to answer in the energy and the power and the poise that I was talking about earlier. It's going to be very difficult to do that. I had a little tea run this morning with my honey. We did a 6:15 a.m. workout. If you know anything about me, I'm not a morning person at all whatsoever, but I'm trying so hard to get all my curriculum and stuff done so that for my Pride and Pivot program to refresh everything for 2026. So I was very determined. So you're like faster results, faster, resume faster, everything faster. Okay, hopefully this was helpful. I don't know if it ever went live on LinkedIn. I'm gonna just double check now. But if I am live, if you can hear me, if you have a question. Yeah, I don't think having a get notification. But I'll upload it. No problem. No problem. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else that I wanted to talk about? I just want you to remember, like, your job is not to defend in these questions. Um, it's not an interrogation if it's feeling like that. Something has to fundamentally shift. Um, y'all are killing opportunities that are meant to be yours because of all of these feelings and thoughts. And I want you all to feel way 20 times more empowered, 20 times more standing on business. That's going to be very important if you want to actually land an offer ASAP. Okay. All right, y'all. It's been a pleasure. You have until end of day today to submit your next round. I'm excited for 3 more questions.